Welcome back to the Real Talk podcast hosted by the National Association of Black Journalists at UCF. I'm your host, Kenny Harris. Today, my co-host, DeLaney Williams, is here. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Back like a chiropractor, man.
Okay.
You know, I may look a little different, got a little
Yeah,
chop,
you know.
but, minor setback for a major comeback. So
I like it.
glad to be back.
Springtime, new beginnings.
What? We bring it forward.
Yes, sir. So today we're going to be talking about music, specifically black music. You and I both love music. So we could do an entire episode about, how music helped the slaves and just going all the way back into black history. But I wanted to keep it somewhat relevant and recent. So I wanted to focus on soul music. Okay. Before we get started too much, are you a listener of soul music? Like, what do you think of when you hear soul music?
I would say, as of now, I listen to a lot of neo soul.
Okay.
So it's the newer genre. But when it comes to old, you still got Jackson 5 with Michael and all that. Yeah. You got Stevie Wonder, Temptations. But other than that, I don't really go back like that much.
Yeah, Stevie's the one.
He is the one.
Well, one thing I really like about soul music is that in the 1960s and 70s, when it was the popular genre, it helped bind people together at a time for the black community where it was very stressful. There was a lot of things going on, the civil rights movement. And this music kind of brought people together, and you've seen it continue into the modern era where this is what we would call clean the house music.
What?
Or barbecue music, cookout music.
Yeah,
and
that and gospel.
Yeah, it's just that's what people think of when it's time to be with their family and friends or the holidays. And it's just such a beautiful genre.
Man, oh my God, I hate that you said that. That just reminds me every time Sunday morning my mom would wake me up out the bed you know what today is?
It's clean the house. You hear that
if you're not going to church,
grab a broom, yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And when you think about the music of that time, it leads you back to Motown records.
Of course.
And do you know anything about Motown records? Are you hip to?
That's Detroit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, me personally, not as much, but I listen to a lot of artists that kind of have a lot of appreciation for them, especially Big Sean. When he had the whole Detroit and Detroit 2 series, he really tapped back into Motown, trying to talk to Stevie and all that. So yeah, just a dab of a little bit, but not.
Well, lucky
not
for you
crazy.
and everyone at home, I did some research on Motown records.
Hey.
So Motown was founded in 1959 by Berry Gordy out of his Detroit. Well, he's from Detroit,
right.
So out of his Detroit home, he purchased the home and he started the label, I should say, using an $800 loan from his family, and in 7 years' time. So under a decade, he turned that $800 loan into a $20 million business. That hurts my head to think about.
He got that bag, man.
I can't even fathom that.
Man, I wish I could turn 800 to 20 mil.
I
wish.
I would love to do that.
I would do that tomorrow.
And Berry Gordy is the true Renaissance man. When you think of an old timer that's been around the world 1,000 times, he was a pro boxer, a Korean War veteran. He owned a record store when he came back from the war. That didn't really work out, so then he pivoted to songwriting, and he wrote for Jackie Wilson, who was a big-time artist back in the day. And when he started this record label, he was inspired by his time at the car manufacturing factories that were in Detroit, because obviously when you come back from the war, Ford. Yeah. That was a lot of job opportunity for black men.
100%.
And he saw how there was an assembly line construction style to the car, and he thought, why can't I do that in music with an artist? So he brought this approach to the house that he purchased in Detroit, which he called Hitsville. And we actually have a picture of the Hitsville house. You can already see in this picture the talent. I see Smokey Robinson right there. I see Berry Gordy obviously in front of the house. I believe that's Diana Ross right there.
That was like a vibe.
That's insane to think of that much talent being congested into one label or one house, literally one property. House. Yeah. And each room in the Hitsville house, this is what made it so unique. The house had rooms dedicated to different levels of business and talent improvement. So it was truly the foundation of artist and repertoire, A&R style. And it was just, it revolutionized everything. Nobody had thought of it that way. Obviously, you had your major labels that were pushing talent here and there, but having a factory, like literally a hits factory for the greatest soul artists of our time.
No pun intended.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
And Smokey Robinson, as you can see right there, was the lead songwriter for Motown, and he worked on countless hits. He also was the leader of, or the lead singer of the group called The Miracles, and I get choked up.
He had motion.
He had all kinds of motion, and they worked on choreography in the house. His sisters helped run the business, so the money had to be straight too, because there's no music business without business.
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my family. I love my family.
You're not getting into the family business?
I've seen too many instances where that can get messed up.
It's the same family that gave you $800.
You're right. In this situation, 100%. You're right.
Stick together.
You're right.
And one thing that made Motown so special with all the talent that they had under one roof is that it was like a competitive nature, almost out of organic creation. And it facilitated so much greatness because they allowed their artists to share songs in a way. And whoever performed the song the best, that's who got the song. So if you have a song that you thought, oh, this is going to be my hit, I'm going to cross over into the white artists or the white audiences, and it's going to be my big break, there's somebody down the hall that's also working on their version of the song. There's actually a story of when the Jackson 5 tried out for Motown. Smokey Robinson wrote the song Who's Loving You, it's a classic.
Right.
And that was the song the Jackson 5 performed.
And blew up. And
Michael killed the song. Like, Michael was singing it, and they were surprised that a 6 or 7-year-old was singing this, the pain of a man that just had his heart broken. And Berry Gordy talked to Smokey Robinson. He was like, I think he took your song. Like, he might have outdid you.
Yeah, I remember hearing a lot of stuff about Motown. No one really had full ownership of their song at that time.
Yeah. And if you dig in the history of it, you see that there's a lot of multiple versions of the
covers,
same song.
Yeah.
And you can't tell whose is
really
the
whose,
song,
right,
unless you look at the chronological. But I love Motown. It reminds me of family time, like we were talking about. Just conversations I've had with my dad, my grandfather, about what this music meant to them, and the parties my grandfather would have with his friends, and this is what they're playing. And my dad's 8 years old. He's hearing the song, so it's layers of memories that these songs can bring. Yeah. I have memories as a kid listening to this. It's you can tell, you only get music like that stays with people so long when an artist cares.
That is true.
When top to bottom, the label cares about putting out good work.
Quality over quantity, yeah.
And changing the world, because if you look at the 60s and 70s, it's very segregated, very much this is a white audience, a black audience, and you pick and choose who may cross over. But the music they were making at this time, it had no choice but to eliminate the color barrier, because music is soul music. You feel it in your soul, and you can't deny that.
Even past the color,
Yeah, and the lyrics that these people even had in their songs, like Stevie Wonder's songwriting, and just the things that they were singing about, Marvin Gaye.
They were passionate about it.
And they're talking about social issues, political issues, trying to bring people together.
What's that song? What's Going On?
Yes.
That's the staple. That's the staple.
That's probably the quintessential song talking about politics.
Yeah.
Because you can still groove with it, but then if you lay back and you're listening to what he's saying, you're like, oh, he's talking about something.
Because first listen, it's just like music nowadays. First listen, you're like, I can. Yeah, let me add this to the playlist, and then you listen to it. It's like Kendrick Lamar. You listen to that second time, you're like, oh, whoa, he's talking. He's saying something. He's hold on, turn him up.
Yeah, and the Motown process, I would say, persisted throughout music, and even into the current day, where they put an emphasis on, okay, we're going to teach you how to dance. We're going to get your vocals right. We're going to teach you how to sing. We're going to get you with the best songwriters. And we're going to build an artist brand. We're going to build something that can grow. We're not just going to give you a hit, you sing it, and then we get you famous for a little while. And some would say it's kind of come back. So now we are producing hits, kind of flash in the pan. But we'll talk about that later. We can,
of course,
we can talk about that later. Now, since we've made it to the present day and we've talked about, Michael Jackson, Marvin Gaye, all the history that we got us to where we are right now, I wanted to take turns spotlighting an artist that we feel like maintains that integrity of music and that care. And you kept your artist a secret from me. So I'm actually very curious. This is my first time hearing who this is going to be. You kept your cards pretty close. So go ahead and tell us what your pick is.
Okay, so my pick, some people, it's like more of like if you know type of artist.
Put a song.
I'm really hoping that I say her name right. But Meribah, if you know, you know. She actually just dropped an album called The Breeze Grew a Fire.
Okay.
But most people may know her for her songs like Stay True or the song that she had with Jid with Sandstorm. Like, you can tell she really cares about her music. And it's just like a instance where I don't think she gets the recognition that she deserves. Like, I went through a whole phase of just trying to find music. And when I was just going, like, digging through any type of genre, I stumbled upon that neo soul, that, that soulish type of feel. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, where's this been all my life?
I found it. Like, that was one. And then another would probably be Odile. I think he's also a fellow Nigerian brother.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's from the UK. Pretty sure he's from the UK because, a lot of, the UK gets a lot of Nigerian type of R&B, like Tim's, for example. But yeah, he's amazing as well. But who's your spotlight?
When people go left, I go right. And I appreciate that you're sharing new artists, and I'm definitely going to check these people out. So I'm going to have to, you're going to have to tap me into
I got you.
Lead me down the right path, But I'm going to go with a legend, a name that this person doesn't have a last name. This person has gotten to the point where they don't have a last name. They're on first name stats. I'm talking about Beyonce. And we've seen her grow up in music. I mean, we first caught her as a teenager with Destiny's Child, and she's I'm not gonna say her age. I'm not gonna say her age because that would be too far.
That would be crazy.
But she's had a very long career that's spanned multiple decades, and no two albums are the same, And I think that is a true indicator of somebody that's really testing their pen and trying to reinvent themselves. And that's hard. That's hard to do. That's true. That's true. So every album has its own moment and has its own look.
Like spotlight.
Yeah, and then the tour, it has its own sound. Some may have more jazz, some may have more pop. Obviously, our most recent album was country, and that changed the game. That lit the streets up because we did not expect that. After a house-inspired album, you go to country.
Yeah, she won Country Album of the Year.
Grammys.
This is her first time.
That's serious.
That's like putting your foot into the swimming pool and you just won an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah. But
she's like
that. You don't do that by accident, So when we're not seeing her, she keeps a very private life. When we're not seeing her, she's studying the history of music. She's collaborating with songwriters, producers to find that next thing. And it just shows her dedication. If you've ever seen her tours, she's dancing. You've seen her live?
They're vibe.
Have you seen her live?
I've seen what's it called? There was a trend with the TikTok where it was like everyone goes quiet.
Yeah.
And then mute. Yeah.
Like
that was kind of cool.
You can get 90,000 people to be quiet at the drop of a hat.
Like there was a couple people that was making everybody. No, people would get mad at it. I'm like, oh.
I did see that. Yeah, her fans don't play, but the dedication to building a world like that on a tour or just in the span of 18 months to 2 years it's crazy. And she pays homage to these Motown artists to tie it all back together. Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, these are the people that got her into music, started her love for music, and she continues that trend while also inspiring the next generation by caring so much about her artistry. And let's talk about that next generation.
Okay, the transition.
Okay. So you see the transition. I see it. I see it a little bit. So the state of music today, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, I think that has been a conversation for like the last, since I was in middle school, just people kind of, the older generation kind of tearing down the newer generation, like, oh, it doesn't sound like what we put out, so trash. But personally, I think since variety comes with, positivity. So it's like seeing that there's so much newer stuff that we didn't really see back in like the SoundCloud era in like 2013 to 2016 and before that. I personally like it. Like there's something for everybody. Yeah. And you also get people that have like a great music taste. I wonder who that may be. But they really got like multiple skins. You got somebody that somebody may know me as like a neo soul guy, but I got Cardi on the back of my jersey today. Like
it's a big day for music today.
What?
If we're gonna talk about the state of music today, we should talk about today.
That is true.
March 14th, 2025. Just give people a little. What happened today?
After years of lying and procrastination. Yeah, I feel this feels like a relationship. It's like a toxic relationship. I Am Music finally dropped.
Playboy Cardi.
30 songs.
Wow. An
hour and 6 minutes of just music. Me personally, he went 27 for 30 first listen.
Okay, so let's stick with Playboy Cardi. Somebody that you talk about the rollout's been taking 25 years now. How do you feel about that style of rollout? Do you think it's like a political thing where it's like, oh, the label's playing around, or is it intentional and he's actually doing this to build up the hype? Because we've seen with Whole Lotta Red, that album he dropped in 2021, it was the same thing, like pushing back the rollout, pushing back the album date, pushing back the release date, snippet here, snippet there. Is that intentional? Do you think that's his way of making a cultural moment?
I feel like it's a mix, coming from someone that has a marketing background. Right. I kind of know how everything works, I feel like half of it is kind of like he has bad PR training, so he just keeps thrashing his label. But the other side of it is like he's also gaining a lot of interest from it, because as much of the people like myself, I'd be like, bro, he lied to me again. Right. I'm not listening to it. Look at me. It dropped this morning. I woke up at 11 a.m. Play. Like I feel like he knows what he's doing. Right. That's someone that knows the music industry.
Because his impact is serious.
For sure.
The era he came up in, they've been fighting for years to be taken seriously as artists. Him,
the mumble rap era, Uzi.
It's like people want to put them in a box as they don't take rap serious, or they don't take hip hop serious.
Like they're kids to this stuff,
right? Because they did it themselves. And comparing it to Motown, bad music or first take music or do it yourself music. Obviously, there's thousands of people working on an album, but like that didn't happen. So only good music or perfect music that had been chipped away at time after time.
Chiseled,
that was the only thing that came out. So when people see this guy just uploads a URL to SoundCloud, and it's a song that's 1 minute and 35 seconds that he made himself, they're so quick to discount it. But like that's ingenuity.
That's part of the creative process.
That's creativity. So I've been back and forth on Playboy Cardi, but his impact on fans is very real. And I think he's trying to be. He reinvents rap. People always copy him, and that's a big sign too.
Okay, I'm not gonna say clones, because that takes away from the people that are making newer music. But there's a lot of people that have gathered inspiration from, just like Cardi. He's gotten inspiration from Young Thug. Right. He just got released. Congrats to him and all that. He also got inspiration from Future. So seeing Future work with him a lot of stuff, that's really cool. But yeah, it's like a lot of people in that scene call it like biting somebody's flow, but it's like sometimes it's taking appreciation, because like we said, he has his whole label Opium, where his artists kind of show off glimpses of certain eras that he has had. Like Ken Carson sounds like a certain part of Cardi, and Destroy Lone sounds like something that Cardi could have done. Homicide, they sound like they could have been also that. So it's like seeing them, it's just like Cardi knows what he's doing. I feel like he's a mastermind. He's creating a flow where someone's gonna bite off of Ken Carson, and then you get Osama's son. No diss to Osama's son, but someone's gonna bite off of Osama. It's just gonna keep on going, and it's all gonna come back to Cardi. And it's like he's smart with it.
And I think there is a stigma in hip hop of everything has to be 100% yourself, complete opposite of the Berry Gordy influence, where it's like
it was everybody.
Yeah, but it's like if you have someone co-write for you, it's a problem. If you sound like somebody, it's a problem. And I think that's just like hip hop culture. But TikTok music, do you believe in it? Is there a problem in popular music or hip hop today where it's like there's a formula and people just play into the formula for clicks?
TikTok is supposed to be just a means of marketing and a means of promotion, how to get your song to blow up. But I kind of don't really have respect for the people that make music and go through the creative process in their eyes just to get clicks and not actually like love the process. You know, what's it called? Since we were talking about like this new age rap, I remember Yeet, you know, he made a lot of songs that were TikTok songs, and I didn't think he would ever like actually be able to make full projects that people would like. And I mess with him. But there is a lot of artists that you will only find them on TikTok. And if I ever catch, you know, you're listening to that outside of that app, it's like.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, the 15-second snippet.
Right.
That's what's cool. That's what's hype. But there's not any care being put in anything else.
Oh, my. Remember the Steve Lacy incident? Yeah. Oh, my. Bro, I was so mad at the Gemini Rights era because I was trying to get tickets to the show. I think it was in Atlanta. And quite literally, he was actually mad on stage because people knew the first part of, oh, my God, I forgot the song. Was it Static?
It was Bad Habit.
Bad Habit. And then no one knew the second half. And he was like, wow.
Like, yeah, because that's another one of those artists that cares deeply and has studied the greats and all of that. And for his artistry, his big, it's not a debut. He's obviously had up music.
But his big moment.
That was his moment where he was like, okay, this is my biggest song. And it's just been minimized.
15 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
you're not appreciating me.
At my show, it's very conflicting. And it just shows like where music is at.
Yeah. I mean, kind of rooting back. I mean, I don't think I asked really you, like, how do you, okay, the better question is, what improvement? If you had to label what needs to be fixed, what would you say? Kind of rooting back to the Berry Gordy where people need to show a little bit more appreciation to stuff like that?
I mean, I think it's something that could change in the world just in general. But there needs to be, like, care. You need to actually care about what you're doing because Berry Gordy's a businessman. Like, he wasn't a fool. He was trying to make money, but he wasn't telling the Jackson 5, oh, you have to make a song that sounds like your last hit so that we can get back to the top of the charts. You know, they were in those sessions grooving and trying out different styles and different versions of songs to get that moment. So I think you have to still be motivated by the creativity and the creative outlet and the connection with people. Because if you just try and chase a sound or you just try and chase a moment to up your money, it's not going to last. And music is meant to
be timeless. Yeah.
For somebody to be born in the 2000s, to have the same connection to a Jackson 5 song that his father has. And then to be able to talk to his grandfather about that time too. Like, that's what music is for. Music it tells a story of cultures and times. It's like a placeholder. And right now, I think the story being told about the 2020s could be a lot better.
Yeah, I could definitely say that.
But there is good. I mean, we should talk about the good too.
You're right,
right. You were talking about it a little bit where so many subgenres and there's so many opportunities for music listeners to find someone new or to find a new genre, find a new sound because you and I could release an album tomorrow. Like, there's no barrier of entry. We should. But there's no barrier of entry to the music industry, you know? Like, you can be on SoundCloud and you can try again. And then before you know it, you're like a Tizo touchdown, where it's like you've been making music, you've been on your own, you've been hearing no, and now you're on tours with Tyler, the Creator, you know, Travis Scott. Some of these big artists are like, I see what you're doing. You love music like I love music. Let's collab.
Right.
Because music is about collaboration. So I think we got to get back to the collaboration.
Speaking on, it's actually funny how you just brought up that same exact process of just going from, you know, none to something, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the current talks right now of Doechii being an industry plant? Because we all love Doechii.
Yeah.
Doechii literally has had songs with, you know, TDE members like SZA back in 2019. Mm-hmm. And quite literally, she has documented most of her life. Like, My mom does, shout out my mom, but she does like budgeting and planning and all that. Doechii was one of those YouTubers. And she literally said on the YouTube that she was going to quit that and make music. I feel like that is the opposite of an industry plan. Like, because she actually took that stuff seriously. Yeah. So how do you feel about people saying that, especially our people saying that?
But that word just lost meaning, like, so fast.
Like,
I think once you sign to a label, they're going to put marketing dollars behind you, you know? And
it's just disrespectful.
Yeah, just write it off as, the industry, for what? How do you get chosen as a plant? These are the questions that don't get asked. I think it's just to discredit people. Obviously, Doechii has put in the work. You can see it. It's documented. She lived her life online. It's the internet age. You can find out anything you want. But yeah, I think it's a negative side to music.
Just tearing each other down.
Anytime, and it's the connection thing, right? Like, we're so focused on like differentiating ourselves and trying to be cool that anytime something brings anybody together, it's like frowned upon. It's not new, because when Pharrell put out the song Happy, everyone hated it because it was too positive. Like,
I was one of, I liked it as a kid. Yeah, I can't listen to it anymore now.
I'm the opposite.
What? You still
I can hear it now. I can hear like
because
music in it now. Like, before it was just like Despicable Me. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, we need those cultural moments where it's like everyone likes this song. Like, when there were songs of the summer.
Party rock anthem.
We don't have that anymore. We don't have songs of the summer.
What was that? What was that little summer song? It was like Calvin Harris with Migos and Frank Ocean. Like, I love that collaboration. Would you slide up?
Once again, sounds like sun. It sounds like a sun.
It's a summer song.
We need more of that in music, and we need to celebrate that when we get it, like a Tyler or a Doechii, who you see the work. Like, the reason she's everywhere on the internet and stuff is because she's putting in that work. She's putting in the hours. I'm trying to be an artist. I'm not just trying to make music. I'm not trying to just be popping or trending. I'm trying to be an artist. Like, I care about this. People just gotta care. I really think it's just about caring.
Yeah, just like how you just brought up the name. I feel like there's only certain artists that kind of really show that care. Like Tyler, for instance.
Tyler, the Creator.
Tyler, that's part of the reason why I love Doechii so much, because she reminds me of Tyler. Is that like that whole process? Of course, she didn't start off with like a whole dark era, which was kind of
thankfully
controversial. But when it turns like the actual passion, the actual want to do it, Tyler has showed that ever since he was Ace the Creator. Like, he's done that, and he still shows it. Like with the Chromacopia that just dropped, he literally released a whole documentary talking about it. So I feel like we need more
Tyler
people.
The Creator,
he's a creator.
He's a creator in all sense of the word, but he's gonna do something because it's on his heart to do it. And I'm just going to stick to that. And that's what you see in Doechii. It's like, this is my creative outlet. I'm doing it because it's me, and this is how I feel. And in a year and a half, when I make my next album, 2 years from now, I'm going to feel something different. And that's okay.
And I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And then I'm just going to keep elevating. It's like I was talking about with Beyonce. You just keep elevating. Keep trying something new, because it's going to connect with people differently. It allows people to grow with your music. It allows your music to grow. That's where we need to get to.
Yeah, you hear that, don't you? We love you, girl. Keep doing you, girl.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about in music?
I would say, I think a good wrap-up question is, if you had to pick, we can both answer, one artist that you feel needs to contribute more to the state of music right now. Who would you say?
So someone you think that's like...
He's already in the music scene, but you feel like they're down here and they need to shoot it. Like, they got past the ball. They need to shoot it.
Honestly, I'm going to say Doja Cat. Because she's kind of in... It's crazy that we were talking about Doechii, because a couple days ago I've been talking about it for a week, actually, about how I feel like she's getting too big. And I feel like people are building her up to tear her down. And I'm worried... Because that's what happened to Doja Cat.
That is.
Doja Cat was all over the place in pop, rap for 2019, 2020, 2021. Like, she made COVID music. Like, when the TikTok, time goes by and there's like a COVID era of music, it's going to be Doja Cat. Like, that's who's going to be remembered. But
she had that song with SZA.
It was everywhere. She was everywhere. She had like 4 or 5 songs everywhere. And now, not now, but the last couple of years, the talk on her has kind of pivoted, and they built her up,
and they tell her every single piece.
Yeah, they dissect her life and things like that, and then
who she's dating,
right, and then she reacts, and now it's a reflection of her music not being good, and then her most recent album was a little bit left of what she had been doing. She was in a really unique spot actually, because she was like a rapper, but she was a pop girl.
Is that the album that had Agora Hills on it?
Yeah, that one is the most recent one. People weren't expecting that from her. And the problem is when you get built up like that, there's expectation.
Yeah. And then reality hits.
And now she's kind of pulled back after releasing an album that was, this is my, not alternative, but you're not expecting this from me. I'm changing my hairstyle. I'm going with the low cut. I'm bleaching my hair. This is who I want to be right now. If you don't like it, cool. So I think now that we're past, enough time has passed, I would like to see her come back and showcase her talent again, because she's one of these artists I'm talking about that dances, has history producing, can sing, raps, writes. Like, she's a very well-rounded artist and creative, and I think it's time. Who do you
that's
a valid. You feel me?
I mess with the take. I mess with the take.
Appreciate you. Who do you got as somebody that you want to see do more?
Okay. I'm going to say this name, and it's not going to sound like it's a crazy surprise. However, when I say it, I'm going to explain it. I mean this, like, wholeheartedly. Frank, please.
Frank Ocean.
Frank, I feel like he knows the effect that he has had. And, of course, if y'all don't know who I'm talking about, Frank Ocean. Not just...
Look it up.
Yeah, you shouldn't even have to be honest. But I feel like he knows the effect that he has put onto music. Of course, he had the whole nostalgia ultra, time frame wasn't really fully released, but we know that era. We know the Channel Orange era. That won a Grammy. We all know Blonde.
Yeah,
of course. But it's like we need more than just that. Like, granted, we said music should be timeless, right? Music should not be associated with a certain date. Like, this it's okay to remind you of certain time frames, but this was 2014 me, but I can't listen to this now. Like, he's done that, but we need more than just that, because we just are limited to certain things. Like, we've seen, Frank is tied in with, A$AP Rocky and A$AP Mob and all them. He's friends with Cardi, he's friends with Tyler. We've seen him on other songs, with Tyler, he's on She, which is an amazing song, by the way. Classic. With Cardi, there's a song, I think, from an A$AP Mob song a long time ago where all of them on, and Frank is rapping.
Yeah.
We only hear Frank rapping from Small Stuff, and then he put like a Small Stuff on Blonde or Channel Orange where he just has like a quick little tangent where he'll just start flowing a little bit like Flow State. But what about the people like me? What about people like, hold on, keep going.
Like rap, yeah.
Like, you can rap. Yeah. Let's try that. And it's like, I feel like, of course, you got to, take into consideration the stuff that happens outside the studio.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everything the man's gone through, I'm not tearing that down whatsoever.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
I followed Ryan, It's devastating, and I know he still feels like that is, part to blame with him, but it's just, we
Do you think that artists like him or Rihanna, when you take so much time off from an album that's like called a classic, that a lot of people hold as a classic, that there's a paralysis that comes with like, they're not gonna like what's next regardless,
I can agree with that,
because Cardi's kind of transcended that, and I think he's someone that people should look to, and artists be like, hey, they'll mess with you regardless if these are your fans. But it's hard to follow an Anti or a Blonde. Like, people don't even know where you are as a like, 8 years ago, I was an 8th grader. You can't expect me to be anywhere close to what I was thinking as an 8th grader.
Yeah, straight ski mask.
For 8-9 years to go by in between projects, and people still think you're that, and then whatever you drop is gonna disappoint
like
them.
We grown up.
Yeah, it's hard. I can see it's hard as an artist, and I think that's where Frank is now. Like, and the more time goes by, it's like a snowball.
Yeah, and especially you could definitely see what Coachella did to him. You know, he came back, and it's like I appreciate him being out there because of how private he is. He just goes on Instagram out of nowhere and just says like, "I'm making spaghetti." Like, okay,
Yeah, you just
I'm just glad you're still kicking, man.
Yeah.
But people, like, of course, in a monetary and financial aspect, people that went out of their way, you know, call out of work, paid all this money to go to Coachella just to see him run through a couple songs, be late, be sitting down the entire time for songs that he's already released and just a different mix on it.
Yeah.
You could tell, like, the passion might not be there.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid of. I really hope that there's somewhere in there the fire is still pretty lit. Because once that fire is out, we gonna lose a prominent figure.
So you want Frank to get in the booth?
Yeah.
Frank, hashtag get in the booth.
I need Pharrell and Frank to...
Somebody get him in the booth. Somebody drag him into the booth.
I'll do it myself.
Give him a pen, notebook.
I'll
Don't leave until there's an album.
I'll make that call to Tyler and be like, yo, we need to go get this man.
Lock in. This has been great.
Yeah.
I love music.
What?
Some people might say I am music.
I see what you did. I see what you did there.
Cardi, shout out Cardi. No, this was awesome. I loved talking about Motown. I loved seeing the transition, how it connects, how it starts out as a voice for the black community, and now it's beyond a voice, it's expression.
Right.
And there's subgroups, there's subgenres, there's more than one way to define what a black person is if you look at it as a larger scale. Music, at the time, at the time it's very easy. In the 60s, it was very easy to just put black people in one box. And especially pre-civil rights movement, it's like these are the groups of people that can't do this, and these are white people that are good. So, like, for music to be able to show the different aspects of what it is to be a black person, just like it is for anybody else, you know, male, female, the many different groups that can have brown skin or black skin, I think is beautiful. And I don't think necessarily, the last thing I want to say, that you can compare music. I know we might have done it today, but comparing music good versus bad across timelines.
Yeah. Because
it just reflects like where the people are at, what the culture's feeling at the moment. And if you want to, it's a slippery slope of saying that music was better at this time. Because there are still creatives and
I see what you mean.
Yeah, people in the forefront working behind the scenes to express themselves and how they feel. And there's new technology now. There's new resources now. People listen different. So it's going to look different. And from the point that we put this out to 10 years from now, music's going to be different again. Music could change tomorrow.
It's going to change tomorrow.
And I just love music. I think we should really just keep the love
and appreciation
at the forefront, because I'm not in the booth. I've never written a song before, so not yet. I have to give, props to the artists that are putting themselves out there in front of the world and saying this is what I'm feeling right now. So I just want to do that.
Yeah, it's exactly what you were just saying. Like, it's just like how people trash talk NBA players. Like, you miss that, you can't even shoot a free throw.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Respect. Always show respect.
100%.
Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, this is the Real Talk podcast hosted by the National Association of Black Journalists at UCF. I'm Kenny Harris. DeLaney Williams. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
See you guys in the next one.